This is not a surprise. CNG is a fuel that slows things down. You will feel it, and you can switch between the two modes natively. So sometimes, yesterday near the JNPT area, there are a couple of flyovers that are really steep. I know that they were really steep, and it was a turn, it was an on-ramp, and there was nobody there. So obviously I wanted to go a little bit quickly up that ramp. So before I started climbing the ramp, I switched to petrol. I knew it.
Okay.
As soon as it flattened on top, I switched back to CNG. No stress, which obviously you can do.
And this transition is smooth?
Smooth enough. It's not smooth. It's smooth enough. Okay, there is a hiccup. If you're going on a flat road, the hiccup happens and it's not a problem. But it doesn't happen immediately, okay? What you have to remember is it happens about a second and a half later, which is my surprise. So you'll do this, and then it'll go, and then suddenly you'll feel, it's sort of like, just that much. Just only that much. When you're going upslope, when the load is higher, then that lasts a little bit longer. You feel it a little bit more. It's not unsmooth. It is not jerky. It doesn't feel like it's going to die. None of these issues happen. The only running issue I have had on the bike is yesterday when I refilled CNG. When I restarted the bike, it refused a couple of times. When it finally restarted in CNG mode, it had the engine check light on. Okay. When we rebooted the motorcycle, check light went away. So there was some momentary failure somewhere. And Bajaj said they have solved cold start problems for the CNG. They are sure of it. In the test bike fleet that they rolled out to journalists, there were a couple of bikes that had a little bit of trouble starting here and there. But they are promising that in the production bikes, this will not be a challenge. Now, you've got a 2 kilo CNG tank and a 2 liter petrol tank. The 2 liter is a law thing. Like I said, if you put more than 2, then it is no longer limp home, in which case the emission batteries increase, the number of tests increase, which is why 2 liters. And the system is designed to make sure you run in CNG as much as possible and only use petrol in specific situations, except for one thing. If you continue to run in CNG, the injector for petrol will gum up. So now and then, the bike will automatically decide, switch to the petrol for 30 seconds and go back to running CNG. This is silent to you.
But what do you mean it forces, I mean, you're saying, suggesting...
So for example, there is a CNG fuel gauge, but there is no petrol fuel gauge.
Acha.
So the CNG gauge just turns off. So when you switch to petrol, that gauge just disappears. And then you have no indication how much petrol is left. Okay. Bajaj made a mistake here. This is, I don't think, an active part of the design. But the indication for a CNG and indication for petrol are amber lights. First, they're not visible in the sunlight. It's very hard to read, especially if it's over your shoulder. But second, that's the only lights there are. So whether it is low fuel or not is a mystery. So yesterday when I took the bike out for the first time, I saw the petrol light. And I just assumed it was running out of gas.
So it was running out of petrol.
So,
but
sorry.
It was just...
yeah. So I thought it was running out of petrol, right? So the first thing I did was go to the fuel pump, and there was a queue for the petrol guys. So I was standing in the queue. And when my turn came up, hey, it's full.
No.
Then I made the connection that light only means I'm running in petrol mode right now. Okay. And similarly, it will show you average fuel economy reading and instant fuel economy reading for CNG.
Okay.
We're not sure it is for petrol. In petrol, the thing only says petrol mode, right? So it is constantly reminding you to go back to CNG, go back to CNG, go back. Which legally, if it's a limp home petrol mode officially as they've classified it, that's right. But I wish they hadn't shortchanged petrol so much.
What do you mean?
I have no way of knowing whether I have half a liter of petrol left or 2 liters of petrol left. I have no idea.
So again, I mean, what are they claiming in terms of range for CNG?
Okay, range is quite simple. They are saying certified range is 102 kilometers per kg of CNG.
And it takes 2 kgs.
Officially 2 kgs, effective 1.87.
Okay.
There is technically no dead CNG, but I think there's a certain pressure beyond which you can't load the tank anymore. Some inefficiency in filling, whatever. 1.9 pakar. So 100 grams of CNG is not going in.
So anyways, 200 kilometers claimed.
200 kilometers is pure CNG. Then there is the petrol tank. They are claiming 65 kilometers per liter. Assume about 150 ml of dead fuel in this. So you're going to get nearly 1.9 liters of fuel. That will give you 65. So net range coming to something like 330, which is plenty.
Okay.
So for the workman kind of use, which this bike will see, which is a lot of short trips here and there, I think range is enough. And I think you will more or less live in CNG. The challenge with CNG is the queues and the petrol pumps and availability. In Mumbai, when I went to fill petrol, there was a queue of cabs that were running all the way out, but I was only doing the petrol thing. So I asked him, I said, listen, I have a CNG bike. This one, yeah, so go to that queue. I said, no, right now I only need petrol. Okay, so how do I fill fuel? He says, look, there aren't any other CNG bikes, you just come.
Jump the queue.
He says, you just jump the queue. Auto khali hai to auto mein aa jao, gaadi khali hai to gaadi mein aa jao. Whatever is free will fill your fuel, don't worry. So for the moment, because between the curiosity and the lack of bikes, this was not a problem. Luckily for me, when I came back in the evening, there was nobody there. So clearly the cabbies were all filling their fuel in the morning before they were starting their day, so there's a queue. But there are 2 pumps on both sides of our office, they are always full.
Right.
So to me, initially the challenge will be you'll buy the Freedom and then you'll have to struggle to fill fuel because there'll be few pumps which will all be crowded. In the beginning, you'll be able to jump this queue because just between the curiosity value and how rare it is for a two-wheeler to show up, you will jump this queue. If this Freedom becomes super popular and there's tons of them around, then the CNG pumps will have to similarly create a special dispenser which will only do the bikes and everybody else will go to the auto pump and the car pump. Pour your heart out. You have 60 seconds. Too little? Try 120. No, too little? Okay, 3 minutes. Yeah, we can't do it either. That's why we have the main motoring channel. And this is a clip from a much longer video that discusses this idea in much, much more detail. This vehicle in great detail. If you'd like to see that, you'll have to head there.